Hello friends, a very warm welcome to this, the next of our midweek musings. I hope this finds you well on a damp and drizzly July morning here inside Temple Newsham. And this week in the musing I wanted to think a little about perspective. Many of you will know this stretch of ground that comes from Colton Road. It's where you kind of come into the estate where the paddock was, as I think many of you know it, just over here. And then you have this lovely stretch down which goes towards the house. And I don't know about you, but whenever I come into this bit from walking down the road, you come into an open space and it changes your perspective somewhat. You feel somehow more opened out because you're in an open space. And thinking about that theme of perspective, that's been one of the things we try to hold on to in life. And I was reminded of it the other day speaking to someone on the telephone who we were chatting about how things were for them. And they said, well, there's an awful lot of people worse off than I am. And of course, that's a good thing to say. Sometimes, of course, you need to take seriously how you are, but holding on to that wider perspective to consider how others might be feeling at this particular moment is a good way of holding your own, whatever the issues are, whether it be about this virus, whether it be some health issue, whether it be about a job or the future or family, holding the two things together, how thankful you are, and how people are often in a much more difficult position than you are, helps us to maintain a level of perspective. Last weekend we were lucky enough to spend a bit of time in the Lake District, and going there we go up the Hode Hill, it's called, in Ulverston. Hopefully there'll be a picture that we can put on at the end of this to show you that view. And that really helped me with perspective, because I think for so long we've been quite narrowly focused in our vision, and for me that physical space often reminds me about how how narrowly our perspective can be formed and how it needs to be broadened out. So I think from when I've been small, going into open and big spaces, I like that sensation of feeling small. And perhaps, and I hadn't really thought about it before, it's something about being able to regain a sense of perspective by entering into big spaces. And of course, Jesus knew something about this sense of perspective also. I've been looking at the 5th chapter of Luke's Gospel. It's a chapter in which all sorts of things are happening. Jesus is establishing his identity in some way. Healings are happening. People are being brought to him. And in the midst of it all, you get this line about Jesus withdrawing to be with God, really, to go and pray, to separate himself. And I think that really is about perspective, about Jesus saying, and I think in the midst of so many calls upon him, Jesus having to have a sense of who he was, what he was here to do. Now, I suspect when so many people came to him for healing, when there were so many demands upon him, it would have been easy to be called into that itinerant healer, speaking of how God seeks out us and heals us. But there was more to his life and his ministry than that. He was going to be more than that. So when he retreated, it was about restoring his sense of perspective, what he was here to do. And I think we need these spaces where perspective's restored. That can be a physical space like this one, or like going to the Lake District, but it can also be that lovely comment saying, well, there are people worse off than me. That can help restore our sense of perspective. And sometimes, as we've been through what we've been through, our perspective has been distorted, and we need, as we come as we go forward, as we come out of this period of lockdown, to have our perspective restored and to help us think more clearly about who we are and where we're going. So God bless you. Thank you for spending this time with me. I will bid you farewell from a rainy Temple Newsam on a Wednesday morning here in Leeds. God bless you.